Good evening, everybody. Can I just say, that's not me having a drink in the background. That's Benji on cue, just as you start a live, deciding he wants a drink. Well, that's okay. And this isn't the Scandi quilts in front of me. What's going on? Do you know what I think? Before we started this evening's sort of beginning of the Scandi quilt, I thought it'd be nice to just have a look at what we've actually achieved. And there is so much. And when you think about this one here, this actually hung at the NEC not long ago. The comments that came back is we would have liked to see more quilting. But do you know what? Considering it's our very first one ever, and John's just going to actually, can you hold it from that side, please, sweetheart? John's going to hold it up so we can see it. Are you ready? Yeah, considering it's the very first quilt, you know, that a lot of us have actually done. You can come down a little bit, John. Thank you. Do you know that? What an achievement that is. They love the colours. They love the drawing. And do you know what? You out there tonight, you've created one of those as well. So not just mine, but I think I actually represented all of us there that day. So really, really proud of that. So there's our first one we did. So then if I move down to the next one, this was our sort of William Morris inspired Tangly flower quilt. This is the smaller of the two. If you remember, this one's got 20 blocks in it. And we did all these different flowers. But I decided in my infinite wisdom, crazy enough, I was actually going to do one with double the amount. So if John could just hold that one up for us. This is the one that hopefully you've done and almost finished. So that's the size of that one. There we go. So you see that? It's 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top and then 5 down. Really pretty, that one. Quite a lot of detail. And when you think all those different sort of matten layers in creating those blocks, that was really tricky for us. So that's a good one. But then, of course, if I move down here, you can see I've got him trained, haven't I? That I've managed to do the cushion cover. There it is, look, cushion cover. Now, this fabric, I know a few of you have asked about it for the backing. This was on Sewing Street as an extra wide backing fabric, and I'm sure it'll be back on. But it's the same one as this white one here, and looks a bit different, looks completely different, doesn't it? But it's not, it's the same one. So that's our cushion cover. I'm just going to move it to one side. Because then here is the biggest quilt that I've done to date. Now, John, I think it's this end. Because as I say, this one has actually got 36 blocks on. So whether you decided to do that, so you can't, can you hold it wider? Thank you. There it is.
No, what? I'm not here.
There it is. Look at that. That is, now that's a little bit quilted, isn't it? So really, really love that one. Thank you, John. So, bless him. So we move down now to this one. This is our newest. And again, I'm going to get him just to hold this up for a minute. And then, this side, please.
Yes, sir.
Now this one, you can see that we're about to start. There you go. Good job of cleaning the oven. Is all the hearts are actually facing in one direction. But you see that those sort of letter T's are all sort of slightly different. We can have a little play with that and you can sort of do what you want to do with it. So if you pass me that back, John, just there you go, thank you. We can leave that one on the desk. Appreciate that. There you go, okay. So, okay, so this is the one I want to start. However, a little bit of an apology because as you know, we've been moving everything to the office. So all my arts and crafts stuff, my paper craft, or cardboard, as John Scott says, is actually now at the office in boxes. And I did get to a couple of hours ago, and I thought, oh my goodness me, everything's there, stencils, everything. So I do have a printout of my instructions, so we can see what we're doing. Yours will be a little bit brighter than that. And for my stencil, which again is at the office, I've printed out a couple of templates. You notice like that they're both slightly different, one's fatter than the other. So you've got stencils, I'll be working with templates just for this evening. So, okay, how did we do this one? I started with what we call sort of Scandi kind of vibe fabric. So here we go, this is the ones that I actually used. Yes, if you don't mind, that's it, you can go. Thank you very much. Okay, assistant's been let go. So you see I've got all the grey version. This is all like the scrap bits left. So I think what I'm going to do with these is because Benji loves his quilts so much, I'm going to make him one to go on the floor so he can have a matching one for Christmas. So these are the Scandi designs, and you can see there I've got the same fabrics, but I actually used the red and the grey. Now I got these from the sewingstudio.co.uk, and I used grey and I used cream to go with the squares. I'm not going to be doing this sample with that because otherwise I'm going to end up with two the same, which would be very beautiful, I'm sure, and I'm sure my mum would love it, but I wanted to do something a bit different. So what do I have instead? Okay, so I've actually brought, it was a bundle that was on Sewing Street not long ago, and it was exactly the same fabric, but it's a Liberty, I know, splashing out here, and it was all in different colours. So what I've done is I've cut out all my strips ready. So there's one strip. Let's go out a little bit if we can, so you can see what I'm doing. There's my second strip. Then my third, which is a slight cream. Let's go in a little bit so you can see it. And then there's my fourth, and there's my fifth. So this is going to make up one block. So working it then to the next one, I'm just going to bring in the next sort of colourway, which I'm not going to work on tonight. I've got silver, then I've got a blue-grey, got a darker, it has got a bit of blue in it. See, it's all the same pattern. Then I've got the pale blue, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got a grey, which is lying around somewhere, which is 5. Okay, so I've got 5 of each colour, and I've cut them all into strips. So if we're looking at our instructions, here we go. And again, yours will be a lot brighter in this, just excuse the photocopy. It says, okay, to make your quilt, you will need, actually, whether you're going to go with all the same fabric or you're going to go half grey and half cream like I did, then you're going to need half a metre of that one, half a metre of that one. Although I've gone completely with white. So I've brought a metre of white cotton fabric to do my drawings. Then I've gone with fat quarters. So 5 of each of the red and 5 of each of the grey, which is why I've just showed you there. I've gone for 5 of this colour, and I've got 5 of the sort of the blues and the blue greys. So that's where I'm heading with that, okay? So then it's also, we don't need to worry about, I've got a fat quarter fabric for a choice of binding. I'm actually going to use the black, because I'm going to use a black on the background as well. What did I use for this? The background for this one, I've actually used sort of a square black and monochrome kind of design. Okay, so it was a little bit different. So, okay, so this is what we need. And then the first job, we've got to cut out these. It says 10 6.5 inch squares from both plain fabrics. So fabric 1 and fabric 2. So I've actually cut out 20 squares of white because I'm going to use the same colour. Then we want the 2.5 inch strips. And then this is for the binding, which you don't need to worry about yet. So 7 of the 2.5 inch strips gives me the red and the grey, and that's what I've got here. So I've cut all my strips ready. So then what I've done with them, I've labelled them 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, okay? So then I've stitched together 1, 2 and 3, and then I've stitched 2, 3 and 4, 3, 4 and 5, 5, 1 and 2. You see where this is going? So let me just bring those in to show you. Here we go. So what you're going to end up with is strips of fabric like this, okay? And you see what I've done when I've pressed them all to one edge. Now it's entirely up to you. If you actually want to stitch them and open them out and press them, you can do that. It's entirely up to you, but I've gone that way. So you see that one is different to that one, you see, which is then different to that one, which is different to that one. So the whole idea is that each set of strips are going to be different each time. I know some of you out there don't like random, but that's what we've aimed for. So once you've cut your strips out, and I'm just going to put these away so they're in order, because I've not stitched all of them together yet, is you will end up with a strip looking like this. So what I've actually done here is I've cut out, and I've got it here, a 12.5-inch strip and a 6-inch, see, from exactly the same piece. Okay, let's do it that way so you can see it. All right. So your fabrics might differ and, you know, width depending on what you've got, but as long as you're getting these and you've got the same one, so you cut out the same thing each time, that's what we're looking for. Okay. So the idea is that we're going to take my white fabrics. This is my white square. Now we've talked a little bit about interfacing. On the first one we put interfacing in. On the second we didn't. So on this one, we're going to try something different if you're up for it. I'm just going to bring the box in here. And we're going to go for, here we go, freezer paper. What does freezer paper do? Well, let's have a look. On one side, it's quite dull. It's a bit like tracing paper, but you can't quite see through it. And on the other side, it's shiny, you see? So if I iron that onto the back of my white fabric, okay, now you notice there, look, actually I've made it a little bit smaller to allow for my seam allowance. It's going to give me quite a sort of a more structured square, and it's going to be slightly heavier to work on. And then when I've done my drawings, I can peel it away. Use this a couple of times. Don't think you've got to cut every single one, but that'll do the job. So, okay, what do we do then next? We take this one and we take this one. All right, and what we've got to do then is this one is going to sit. Now, it doesn't matter which way round you use it. Let's sort of explain that a bit. So I could actually, if I wanted to, have the cream there, but then I'd have to have the cream of this one there, okay? If I'd got my gold colour there, I'd have to have my gold there as well. You see, I'm getting this sort of T-shape each time. So first thing you do, now I'm going to put my blocks together before I draw my shapes, but it's entirely up to you. And I think this time I'm going to have my heart shapes all facing different directions. And again, that's completely up to you. It's all about where you place your blocks afterwards. So drawing your blocks first, getting these put together, placing them all out so you know where they're going, numbering them, you can then have your hearts in exactly the place you want them. So what I would do is I would stitch this to this. Okay, so you've got that. Now imagine that this is on the left hand side at the top all the time. And then this one here, I would stitch to there. So of course, turn it over, right sides together, turn it round, press and back down again. Now if you get a little bit extra on either side, don't worry about it. You can trim it down when you've got your full square done. So once this is done and pressed, I would take this one, turn it over like this, and I'd stitch down here. Again, press it, pull it out, and you're going to end up with, here we go, this. Okay, so I've got my, you see I've got my freezer paper on there. I've actually got my little T there, and I've actually got everything on the back, look, all nice and pressed in place, ready to go. So that basically is exactly the same for every single block. It's however you want to do it, and each one's going to be a little bit different. So even if you come up with another one of these, you could turn it round so the cream sits there rather than the gold. So it's really nice to sort of mix it up and try different ways with it, okay? So next thing then is it comes to our drawing section. So as I say, I've actually got, flatten that out a bit. I've got templates this evening. You'll all have your stencil, and what you'll find, I'll use this one because it's a bit similar to yours, is you've got three heart shapes and you've got dots all the way around. That's because what we want to do, if we look at, let's have a look at this one for example. This is a simple shape, so it gives the outline and we've tangled within it. Whereas this one here, let's just pull that over a little bit. There we are. You see this one's got the little dots, and I've used it to mark positions to allow me to give it a little bit of a difference. Okay, so I think what we'll do this evening is we'll start with something quite simple. and that'll give you time to do some of your blocks this week, and you can have a go at one of the simpler shapes, and then from there we can go a little bit different. So looking at my two shapes, what I actually did on the original is I've got the thinner heart and I used that on the cream, and then the wider heart, see it's slightly more rounded, I use that on the grey. But because I'm doing different, I could just use one if I want, or I could use both and mix and match. So let's use this one. And first things first, let's sort of find the middle a bit, just to give me a little bit of an idea where I'm starting. So let's have a look, about there. There's my middle, okay? Now, this is what we call a Frixion pen. Again, always test it on your fabrics first. I find that these ones are really good. They come in 3 different colours. You can use black, red, or the blue, which I'm using tonight. And this will iron away. So when I've finished doing what I'm doing, it'll all disappear as long as you're using that Frixion pen. My regular fine liner, my 03, there you go. This isn't wipe away or iron away. Once you put this on, that is it. It's completely, forever stuck. That's it. So just be careful of what you're doing and be aware. You'll have a dot, I think, in your little stencil. So you can put your dot, see what I'm going to do, just so I've got it right. There we go, there. Is you'll have your dot for the centre. So I've got my heart, let's go down a little bit, about in the middle there. And that's what I want to do. And for this evening's shape, I'm going to draw around it. But because it's a template, I'm going to draw around in Frixion pen. Because as you know, using paper templates, sometimes they can be a little bit unpredictable and your paper could move. Or you might find you're doing a wobbly line. And I don't want that. Okay? But with your stencil, you should be absolutely fine to come straight in with your fine liner. I'm sure all this upset and moving things about will be worth it when it's done. It means I've got paperwork in one place and I've got sewing in another. It just makes my life a little bit easier to sort out, as everything's everywhere at the minute. Okay, it's a good job I tangle, or else I'd be stressed all the time. Okay, so round we go. You see, I'm happier now drawing that in with pen because I'm in control. So rather than trying to get it round that paper, I say you don't have to do that because you've got your heart templates with you. I did think it was in my folder, but I've got my feathers in there and I've been working on my bag, so I've got my dot stencil in there. As nice as at the office. There we go. So it might look a little bit rough, but you see it's because I've actually got my blue Frixion pen under there and my black over the top. So that's fine, I'm absolutely happy with that. So then what do we do with it? Now, this is where your instructions come in handy. So you see, I'm going to sort of bypass, you see, all that explanation that I've done earlier and how to put these blocks together. Don't even need to know how to do the binding yet. It's this bit that's the important section. Okay, so let's have a look at it now. As it is, this one's using the wider heart. You see, it's used the outside and the inside one, and it's showing you how you can create little grids. This one shows you how you can use dots to create a frame. So I'm going to ignore that one, and I'm coming to this one here. So let's have a look at this. It's got these sort of shapes coming up. Now, we've done this before on the other quilts. You see, just little bobbles and then little flowers. So I think I'm going to do something similar to that one. Okay, we don't need to worry about the others. On the back, just for your, just having a quick flip through for reference, there's a few designs there. But on the back in particular, it shows you these different patterns that you can use. So don't think you've got to follow me. You can have a go at all these different ones. We will get through to them all as we go. But I think for this evening, what am I going to do? I'm going to use sort of this kind of shape, which we're very familiar with, this sort of bobble. I'm going to do one of the little flowers, this kind of thing, and mix and match it up a bit. Okay, we ready? So, straight in with a pen, I reckon. But, of course, if you want to, you can actually come in and do it with your Frixion pen first, and then you can draw over it. And I'm going to follow the shape round. So starting at the point here, I'm going to come up and I'm going to create a little bobble on there. Okay, let's go in a little bit more now. You've seen me do that. See, nothing scary, little bobble. So while we're at it, I'm going to come from that point and I'm going to come up and do one there too. And at this point is where the symmetry ends, because honestly, you're never going to get the symmetry perfect, so why worry about it? Don't. And this, beautiful if you decided you wanted to put a few stitches in, and you could even put little French knots on the top. I think at some point I would like to do one that's got some stitches on it. But, honestly, at the minute, it's just getting the timing right. Okay, so you see I've gone one side, then the other. And I'm working my way up and round my shape. Up and round my shape. Okay. There's Chris trying to pretend that he's good, is he? We know you, Chris. He is actually, he's very, very good. But, yeah. There you go. Now, if you've got these little marks, don't worry about it. I'll come back in a minute and I'll show you what you can do with that. But sometimes you might find as you're going around your corner, you can't quite get curves. You see? Round it goes. We know you too well, Chris. Okay, same on the other side. Now, I think this is a good thing if you don't think about it too much. You see how it's moving slightly? That's okay. It's just the paper underneath. But it's given me that little bit of structure that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't got it. So actually, it's not the first time I've tried it, but I think it works quite nicely. And then, of course, you don't have to keep that in. You can just take it out after. Okay, let's have a look. All right, so they're not the same. See, this one's a little bit different to that. But that's fine because we're going to add a few more things in that's going to take away that feeling and that need that it's got to be symmetrical. So here we go. Are you ready? I'm going to come in a little bit more. Okay, so it doesn't matter which side we start on either. I'm going to come in, let's have a look about here. And let's put another little line in. Okay. And then at the top of the line, instead of, actually I'm going to stick with that bobble shape. I mean, the flower does show like a point, but let's sort of keep with the sort of shape we've got. See, it's a bit bigger. And then one this side and one this side. And then here, look, I could do another one of those bubbles. So have a look at that. There you go. So I'm not going to do one here because we've already done one, see? So let's do one on the next row up and put that in. Now, it's going to depend on what you've drawn and how big or small you've drawn them, but sometimes it's nice just to go with it, isn't it? Let's see, I'll put a couple in there. And then I'm going to come this side. See, both of them have come in. So following this round, let's do one this way and around. You see how they easily sort of roll off once you've done a few? Keeping with those same bubbles. So let's follow this sort of shape first. Go around this side. And around. Yeah. Then turn it slightly. And again, I'm going to bring one in. Little loops. And around. All right. So let's look at this side. So again, I'm not going to look at that side. And if you feel that you need to, or it's bothering you, put something there so you can't see it. And work on this side because we know they're going to be different. So let's do it on purpose and make it different. You see? Different. And see where this is a little bit square here, so I'm going to pull out a bit and come in See, there's nothing stopping you changing the shape a little bit. Let's bring another one of those in. All right, let's have a look at that. Okay, so already we've got this lovely shape going around, haven't we? And I did mention earlier, if you've got these little bobbles, let's have a look. And come in again, because sometimes you think, oh, look there, you see, made a bit of a mess. It's not really, let's just put a bubble on and make it sort of part of the design. You don't have to do it on all of them. You see, just a few as you work your way around. Gives it that little bit of difference. Oh, bless me. And there. Let's put one there. So we've got that going on. Okay. So if we look back at those little instructions here, let's look. We've got this kind of thing going on. So, as in style that we've normally done in the past, I can tick that I've used that one. It's nice sometimes because then you think you can try and get to use all of them. We've done part of this, but we actually turned it and put a bubble in that way. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it in. See, it's a little hint there, but here we go. We did this and then this. You see, so that's similar but different. So if we add it in, and oh, it helps if you've got a lid off, put a little tick so we know we've used it. And it means that next time we could look at something else, so we're not doing the same on every one, unless you want to. So, okay, that's our first little bit. I think I'm going to put some little bubbles in. Just sort of dotted around the place. And of course, if you weren't doing sewing and putting this onto fabric, you could still actually make a lovely card with this and do it in paper. Thank you, Mum. You're going to have a go at this one? You're going to do it? I think you should try. I'll sew it up for you. But if you draw them. Perhaps, Mum, we could share one and you could do half and I'll do half. That'd be nice. There you go. Now, a nice one here. You could actually, you know, put a name in there, or you could put a date or something. I know Janet Clare did say this week on Sewing Street you should actually put labels on your quilts. And I think, honestly, I'm probably going to go back and do that. So, yes, I'm going to use pencils on it. I have used some paint on this one underneath. Not much. I've just used it as little, there we go, look. Just little dabs of paint in places. But I just think the paint feels rough. Pencil's not a problem. So what pencils am I using? Now we know that we've all been using the Derwent Inktense, and I've got a set of those, but they've actually brought out a range of new colours. So you can't actually. I don't know if you buy the set, you get them in now, but this is all the completely new colours. So there's quite a few blues in there. So I think being that my quilt's sort of monochromy and blues, let's have a look. See, look, no, nightshade, look at that. I think perhaps I should look at using those. So let's pick a few out. See, that's kind of nice. It's a bit green though, marine blue. Maybe, yeah. And what's that one? It's a dark mink. No, I think I'd rather stick with the greys. Storm dust. Okay. Oh, sorry, Chris, but you know, I have to do these things. Dark mink, no, I said that. I like that one. Obviously, I've picked it up twice, but no, I'm not going to smooth those out again. But honestly, you can use whatever you like. What you've got to remember is quilts have to be washable. So if you want to use paint, use fabric paint. There are textile markers you can use as well if you want to use pens or coloured fine liners. They do sell them on Sewing Street, and I do have a set myself. Very nice. They're called textile markers. But I think these, yeah, I always come back to these. They are probably the best thing for doing, other than the paint, which is going to give you a different feel. But this doesn't need too much, so let's have a little look with these. Okay, and again, I'm not going to worry about using the same colours every time. I'm just going to pick it up and see what happens. Oh, Chris, but the original set's beautiful too. And honestly, the original set is somewhere in a box in my bedroom until I actually unpack everything. So I've not pulled these out to upset you in any way. It's just that these are the only ones I've got. So we've got to live with that. Okay, look at that. Oh, there's the other thing as well, you know, if you want to set these, you've got to iron a little bit of water on them. Don't overdo it because they will bleed if you're not careful. You don't want that. Good thing though is, my pens won't. So you can add a little bit of water on this colour and it won't go anywhere, you'll be fine. Okay, that black pen is going to stay put and your blue colour will actually go around. Having said that, I'm not going to use any water on these tonight because guess where my brushes are? You've guessed it. There you are. See, just putting a little bit in there. You notice I've not gone all the way to the edge. I think I'm going to bring a touch of this one in. What's this colour? Look. Here we go. Malibu. Just a little bit on the edge. And again, I'm still not trying to fill it because once the water's on, I still want to have like a little bit of a highlight in places if I can. Sorry, you missed that one. I'm just putting a bit in. See? And of course, you could always come and add something in afterwards if you wanted. You could even applique the heart shapes. You know, if you liked, say, this one, you could actually cut some hearts out of your scrap using the stencil. And you could put an applique heart in the centre. That would also change things up a little bit. So you don't have to just draw on it. Have a little look at that. There you go. Absolutely, Chris. Those pencils are great. Don't. If I'd got them here, I'd probably be using them. But let's have a look at this one. Oh, look, I did like this. The nightshade. Look. Let's add a little bit of nightshade on those leaves there. Oh, whether they are leaves or not. Quite a fitting one, isn't it? Considering that we're going to be doing Halloween this week. Hobby maker. So that's the plan anyway. I've got a pair of wings ready. Just in case I have to actually physically dress up. There we go. See, again, not put so much in. Oh, more in that'd be lovely. Maybe a couple little beads in, you know. Certainly in little bits like this. There's all sorts of things you could do. Well, I've used lapis already, haven't I? Let's go with, let's have a look. Storm Dust. They've got some good names, haven't they? It's really hard naming pencils. Really hard. And again, you could stitch around this if you wanted to. Before you quilted, you don't have to. Just wait till the quilted. You could do all sorts if you wanted and add extra little bits and pieces. You could do bubbles around it. But this is our first one. This is our very first heart shape and we don't want to overdo it. But you know what? You go with it. You do whatever you want to do. So for all the essence, there is our very first block. Let's have a look at it. Here you are. So it's got all the bits made up, so you know it's going to be quite a quick one to put together. This one, it's not going to be a long-winded taking your time getting on. This one's going to be get all the strips put together, cut them to size. As long as you keep this piece and this piece together, you'll be absolutely fine because you want to keep that T. And then I am going to have my hearts all facing different ways, so yeah, it'll be fine. So okay. Hopefully, you're all on with this one. You've got your fabrics or it's on its way. You've finished your Tangly flower quilt and we're on to this one. This will be our third this year. Our third. So, absolutely. And I'm sure that it's not going to be the first and last. It's going to be one of those things that we keep doing. So, have fun with this one. It's not a tricky one to do, but it's a little bit of fun. Do you know what? You could even add some embroidery stitches on the machine down here, just to give it a little bit of difference as well. So lots of different ways. Although this looks simple, there's lots of ways that you can extend it or do different things. So just have a bit of fun with it. Don't forget that it's going to come off because, of course, it's Frixion pen. So, all right. So there's your first one. I think what we'll do next week, I'll do another one, or I'll perhaps do another two, because I think now I'm going to get these blocks stitched up, and then I can perhaps show you how they go together. I'll perhaps do a bit of a view of the floor if I sweep it first. There's dog hair. And then you can sort of see how they're going to lie, and you can decide which way these hearts are going to go. And of course, now I've done that, I could peel that off. See, it peels off quite easily. And I could iron that onto the next one and use it again. So, all right, hope that's covered enough bits and pieces for you today. And it's given you a little bit of inspiration to get going. And okay, all being well, I will see you next Sunday for our next one. So have a lovely week. A couple of things going on this week, of course. We've got our tile swap tomorrow, if you want to take part in that. It's on Sandra Rushton at 2 o'clock. And then, of course, Tuesday, we've got a tile, which is normal. Friday, we're going to have to change the time or the date of the tile because I'm on Hobby Maker in the afternoon. And yeah, so all go from there. So have a lovely one, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And I will see you all in the week at some point. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye.